We know the benefits that come out of there, jobs for our youthful population, skilled, non-skilled, semi-skilled if you like. Number two, business opportunities for our partners, investors, but also for the domestic businesses. It's very important that if we are driving the growth agenda, that we take care of issues relating to creating opportunities for domestic businesses in the ecosystem of what the mines is able to bring. Essentially, that's why we call for these investments.
The world woke up to a financial earthquake, one that began not in New York, not in London, but in Lusaka, Zambia. A single announcement, and within 24 hours, copper prices surged to record highs. American factories slowed down. European automakers panicked. Tech giants like Apple, Tesla, and Intel started ringing alarm bells. Because Zambia, the quiet heart of Africa, had just done the unthinkable. It announced a total suspension of copper exports until fair trade deals, transparency, and local beneficiation were implemented. To the West, this wasn't just an economic decision, it was an existential threat. For decades, Zambia has supplied the world with copper, the red metal that powers modern life. From the wiring in your phone to the batteries in electric cars, to skyscrapers and power grids, copper is everywhere. And now, that supply chain had been cut off. In boardrooms across the US and Europe, executives whispered the same question. How could Africa do this? But for Zambia, and for Africa, this was not revenge, this was redemption. After decades of exploitation, of wealth leaving the continent while poverty stayed behind, Zambia's leaders finally said, enough. This is the new Africa, bold, unapologetic, and ready to take control of its destiny. And as this story unfolds, you'll see how this one decision, to stop copper exports, could reshape the global economy, redefine Africa's role on the world stage, and trigger the biggest power shift of the 21st century. For decades, Zambia was known as the world's second-largest producer of copper, yet one of the poorest nations on Earth. Foreign corporations, backed by Western powers, mined billions in copper while leaving behind communities trapped in poverty and pollution. But under new economic reforms, Zambia decided, no more raw exports. President Hakainde Hichilema's administration announced a strategic export freeze, demanding local processing of minerals before export, new royalty and taxation systems favoring Zambian citizens, partnership with other African states under the Pan-African Minerals Alliance. This wasn't an isolated move, it was part of a continental awakening. Zambia's decision follows the footsteps of Zimbabwe's lithium ban, DRC's cobalt restrictions, and South Africa's platinum control. Across Africa, leaders are realizing exporting raw materials keeps the continent poor. So they're flipping the table, refining locally, exporting finished goods, and demanding that the world pays fair value. And this terrifies the West. Because 80% of the materials used in electric vehicles, semiconductors, and renewable energy systems come from Africa. Without Zambia's copper, without DRC's cobalt, without South Africa's platinum, the global green energy revolution collapses. Within days of Zambia's export freeze, copper prices surged to all-time highs on the London Metal Exchange. Tesla's production line slowed, citing material shortages. European construction projects stalled due to wiring shortages. U.S. tech companies warned investors of upcoming supply shocks. The West had built its empire on cheap African resources. Now, that empire was crumbling. As Zambia nationalized its mining rights and partnered with BRICS nations like China and Russia for technology and funding, the West realized it no longer had leverage. Zambia was no longer asking for aid, it was dictating trade. For over a century, Western economies thrived on Africa's minerals. The U.S. industrial boom, powered by African copper and cobalt. European auto luxury, built on platinum and gold from African soil. Now, the script has flipped. With Zambia's ban, the U.S. manufacturing sector faces a severe bottleneck. Copper wiring, electric motor components, and energy grids all depend on Zambia. Experts warn that if the ban continues, it could cost the U.S. economy over $500 billion in the next year alone. In Europe, automakers like Volkswagen, BMW, and Mercedes-Benz are already scaling down EV production. This is not a regional issue anymore. It's a global industrial crisis. Beyond economics, Zambia's decision carries a deeper moral message. For too long, Africa's story was written by outsiders. Now, African nations are writing their own chapters, demanding sovereignty over their wealth. African intellectuals like PLO Lumumba, Dr. Arikana Kahambari-Quayo, and Julius Malema have long warned. Africa will remain poor until she controls what lies beneath her soil. Zambia listened. And now, the rest of Africa is following suit. This is economic freedom, the second phase of decolonization. With BRICS expanding and Africa forming strong trade blocs, Zambia's move aligns with the creation of an African Economic Independence Network, AIN, a coalition to protect African resources and negotiate trade collectively. New refineries and smelting plants are being built across Lusaka, Kitwe, and Ndola, turning Zambia from a resource supplier into a manufacturer. Africa is no longer exporting its riches, it's exporting innovation. The copper ban is more than a trade decision. It's a symbol of power. For decades, the world has extracted from Africa. Now, Africa is extracting power from the world. Zambia's move signals a turning point, one that could reshape global trade systems, the balance of industrial power, and the narrative of African dependency. From Lusaka to Johannesburg, from Accra to Addis Ababa, Africa is speaking with one voice. We are not poor. We are powerful. The West may panic, but Africa is finally awake. And as the world watches Zambia rewrite economic history, one truth becomes clear. The future of the global economy runs through Africa.
Welcome to African Spotlight 24, your premier source for news and current affairs from across the continent. We're glad you're here. If you're new to our channel, please subscribe, like, and turn on notification to stay up to date with the latest news and analysis. Your support helps us reach more people. Disclaimer: the content of this video is based on credible, publicly available information and is intended for educational, analytical, and informational purposes only. African Spotlight 24 does not promote hate, violence, misinformation, or political unrest. Our goal is to deliver thoughtful insights, highlight local voices, and encourage informed conversations throughout Africa.